Hey, MCE crew, Tyrone here. I want to talk about Palantir and this decision they made. We talked about them buying the gold, okay? But I think there's more to that gold purchase than I originally anticipated. They could be telegraphing something pretty big in the overall economy, something that we should really pay attention to, okay? They could be telling us that a storm is coming. Now, we're going to get into it. Go ahead, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. I'm here at the Bread and Circuses Bistro in Towson, Maryland. We hold court here on Fridays with Professor Vads of Towson University and Jimmy Mathis, a good friend of mine and radio host, worked at NBC, all that good stuff. Anyway, let's get into figuring out what Palantir is telling us with this big gold purchase. Okay, let's dive in. Hey guys, I'm back in the Money Changes Everything headquarters, and let's talk about why this $50.7 million purchase by Palantir of gold bars, why that particular purchase by that particular company means potentially a high probability of some serious dark financial days ahead, and why, or what rather, you need to do right now in order to insulate yourself, hedge against this, and shield your family from what Palantir, obviously, in my opinion, believes is on the horizon with regard to our economy. Now, let's start this out by, well, go ahead, subscribe, do all that good stuff, like. But let's start this out by understanding who Palantir is. First of all, Palantir is a software company / defense contractor. Their clients include government agencies, not just U.S. government, but governments that are allied with the United States of America, and very large corporations like BMW, BP, and so forth. Now, what do they do for these companies? Why is it that Palantir, why would someone stroke a check to Palantir? Well, they have software that they have developed that can aggregate data and develop likely outcomes. So Palantir basically is a company that can, to a great degree, predict the future using data. And that company has been doing this for the Department of Defense, the NSA, the Department of Homeland Security, our allies, including the United Kingdom, Israel. They're working with Microsoft, again, BMW, and a host of other government agencies within the United States, outside the United States, and corporations. And these corporations and government agencies are writing multi-million-dollar checks. They're not breaking their contracts with Palantir. They're renewing the contracts, which gives you some sort of indication that this company is very effective. One of the groups that Palantir works with is the DoD, or the Department of Defense. And they are taking data, compiling it, and making it actionable to our warfighters in the field. Okay? So this gives you some sort of indication that not only is this data accurate, but it's accurate enough that lives are depending on it in real time. All right? So put that on the side for a second. Now remember Elon Musk, he went out and Tesla purchased a lot of Bitcoin. Bitcoin, as we know, is not a physical asset. We also know that Elon Musk, extremely intelligent individual, works on, is the Tony Stark of the real world, rocket scientist. He's got the Tesla company, got Solar City, or the solar panel company. So he's doing a lot. But one thing he ain't doing is predicting the future. That is what Alex Karp and Palantir are doing for all intents and purposes. Okay? So if you've got a company like Palantir who knows how to look at data, knows how to manipulate that data in order to predict the most likely outcomes. Don't you think that they have done that and taken a look at the world today and how it might look a year, 5 years, 10 years down the road? Don't you think they may have looked at the gold price and said, hey, based on these conditions that we see developing, it is a safe bet to guess that the gold price is going to go this way, not that way, not that way. Okay. It's just like when I used to work at McDonald's as a teenager in high school. Every now and then I would cook myself my own quarter pounder because I'm there. I'm working there. So Palantir is working there. They already know how to use that data, and they have probably surmised that this understanding where the world will be, where this economy will be, is going to give them a competitive edge, an additional competitive edge over and above any competitive edges that they currently have. And they do have a wide moat right now. You might be asking yourself, what is a moat? This is a term popularized by Warren Buffett. I'm not saying that he came up with it. In fact, I think Ben Graham was the investor that originated it, and Warren Buffett took it and made it famous. But the moat is the idea that a company, or the concept that a company has something, be it Coca-Cola's secret formula, KFC's original herbs and spices, or the fact that nobody out here is aggregating data in the way Palantir is. So they've got a competitive advantage, a moat, that it is very difficult for a new entrant or a startup company to come into the game and be able to, have the equivalent of what Palantir, Coca-Cola, or KFC have, okay? Because they not only have a moat in terms of whatever it is they're doing, their recipe, but they also have a moat in time, okay? So they've got a good head start, a good stable of clients that are locked into contracts. So what do you need to do? I think Palantir sees that the dollar dominance is coming to an end, all right? That the dollar as reserve currency for the world is not going to be something that is the case 50 years from now, probably won't be the case 10 years from now. You don't need to have a contract with Palantir to understand that we are spending, politicians don't even use the word billion anymore. They speak in terms of trillions, okay? And now we've got this 3 trillion plus bill coming up, the human infrastructure bill, which is going to be a big boondoggle. It's going to be a nod and a slush fund for all of these different types of liberal organizations. You're not going to see, trust me on this, drive through your inner city today and then drive through there 5 years after this human infrastructure bill passes, and you will see a difference, but it won't be a positive one. I'm a Baltimore City born and raised guy. I know what I'm talking about. They've been talking about Baltimore. Baltimore's coming back. I've heard that since I knew what the words meant, okay? And not only has it not come back, Baltimore is losing population. So Palantir understands that the dollar is under pressure because of excessive and out of control federal spending. Palantir sees that we have, been involved in these far-flung conflicts throughout the world. Our borders are porous. We have leadership on both sides of the aisle that leaves much to be desired. And again, you don't need Palantir's $1 million software to compare what's going on today to what went on in the last days of many former empires. We had Russia, or the Soviet Union at the time, attempt to get into this spending race with the United States and fell flat on their face. It broke them financially, okay? You can go all the way back to the Roman Empire, okay? We've got a multitude of issues that lead to the destruction of empires. We've seen it all before. So Palantir knows this is happening, and so Palantir has invested in the asset, the one asset, the one asset, metals that has been stable throughout history. Gold has been stable as a means of exchange, as a store of value throughout history. They also did something else here, where they are accepting gold as a means of payment. That would mean that they anticipate that the dollar is not going to be the most effective means of payment going forward. So we see all of these things occurring. What do you need to do? What you need to do is fill your freezer, okay? You probably need to buy another one. You thought I was going to say something about an account or some type of investment vehicle, and I am. But first things first, you need to make sure your family can eat, okay? You need to make sure that you're able to either pay off your house if need be, or pay up several months in advance if need be. Now remember, I am not an advocate for you going out here and locking your money into your home that's going to appreciate by maybe 4% annually, okay, depending on where you live. I'm not an advocate for that. And I know what people are going to say, well, housing prices went up 20% over the last year. That's a national number. Housing is not a national market. It's a hyper-local market. So it may have done something better in your neighborhood. It may have done far worse, okay? And it doesn't do that over the course of a sustained period of time. So I don't want you to lock your money. I wouldn't suggest that you lock your money into a home where the only way you can access the equity is if you sell it, or if you go to a bank and get a reverse mortgage or a home equity line of credit or loan, all right? So you would need someone else's permission to access your money in that case. I would suggest that you have the money to pay your home off if need be. This is worst case scenario stuff, okay? But at the same time, if you go and store up food, you've got to eat. So you're going to eat the food at some point. Storing up food keeps you from having to run out to the grocery store and be exposed to the minute fluctuations in price, okay? If you go to that wholesale club and fill your freezer. Being able to pay off your residence or where you live, if you own your home or if you're paying a mortgage, that gives you the security of knowing that worst case scenario occurs, we got a roof over our heads, all right? Now, here's the financial piece. Having that money that you were going to pay that house off with, having that money out there working, getting a return that is better than you've realized on, an ongoing basis in terms of the appreciation of your home over the years that you've owned it, that will allow that money to grow faster, and it'll sit there available at any point, allowing you to access it without anyone else's permission, should you need some breathing room on keeping a roof over your head, okay? All right, we're going to examine stuff like this more as we go along because, quite frankly, the audience prefers this. I'm getting more views based on this type of conversation. So we're going to examine this more. Palantir is that company is led by some of the brightest minds in the history of this world. So if they're buying gold, believe me, it's not just that they can go and look at it and say, oh, how pretty it is. No, they're buying it and they're accepting it as a form of payment for reasons that I explained. They think that the dollar is going to crash, and they're not alone. All right? I'll talk to you soon.